These are the 5 movements that you need to be doing in order to build a muscular, lean physique. Now, I'm going to be massively contradicting myself in this video because everything that I'm away to tell you to go and do, I don't actually do myself. So it's very much a case of do as I say and not as I do. But that's purely just because of the enjoyment factor more than anything else. But the mistakes that I used to make with my training are probably the ones that you are making currently and why you're not seeing what you want to be seeing in terms of results. And that is simply just down to focusing more on individual exercises rather than actual movement patterns. So rather than focusing on these individual exercises that are maybe more or less just doing the exact same thing, you should actually just be focusing on one exercise per session that focuses on that individual movement pattern. Because the reality is, for the average person and just for most people that want to build muscle, you don't need to be doing 3 different exercises in one session that all just do the same thing, that work the same muscle groups in the exact same way. What you need to be doing is focusing on one exercise that works that muscle group in that individual way, and then just move on to the next one and progressively get stronger in that movement. And this is where movement patterns comes into play. So rather than just focusing on the stereotypical meathead, gym bro, bodybuilder training split of chest day, back day, shoulder day, leg day, doing something like a full body training split or an upper lower split can be very beneficial because it allows you that opportunity to split up your training in a way where you are focusing on these movement patterns, getting adequate rest and recovery, and doing an adequate amount or enough to actually build muscle, give your body that level of stimulus without not necessarily overdoing it, but just it becomes redundant and it gets to a point where there's no benefit. You're not yielding any more reward or benefit to it. I'm going to get into these movement patterns in just a second, but I've actually put together a free guide for you to go and get access to if you want to learn a little bit more about what exercises follow into each movement pattern, what muscle groups are worked, how it works the body, and basically gives you almost a template to go and incorporate into your own training. So if you want free access to that, the link is in description. Just enter a few details, enter your name, and then you'll have free access to that as well if you want. But yeah, the first movement pattern that we're going to get into is probably one that you are definitely doing, and that is a squat. Now, when we talk about squat, I'm not just saying a barbell back squat or front squat or anything like that. It's just a squat variation of any kind, and that actually includes a knee dominant leg press as well. So basically any kind of leg press where you're getting a lot of knee flexion, like knee driven over the toes, there's a lot of knee bend in there, and your feet are fairly low on the platform. You're still going to be working them even if your feet are higher up. It's just there's a little bit more glute involved than we'd like there. There are fucking wads of different squat variations that you can do. My best bit of advice is get one that you can perform safely, correctly, obviously, get strong at, and that you simply enjoy doing. So second movement pattern that we're going to go into, and your hamstrings are doing a little bit more of the work here, is a hinge. So a hinge is simply something where you are bending at the hips in some kind of fashion and then lowering your torso more so towards your lower body or the ground. So something like a conventional deadlift, a stiff leg deadlift, a straight leg deadlift, an RDL, a single leg RDL, a hip extension. There are heaps of exercises here where you can be hip hinging. My preferences are definitely more of an RDL, remaining deadlift, or a stiff leg deadlift. So that is pretty much our entire lower body and a little bit of our backside basically covered there. So a squat variation, a hinge variation is near enough taking care of that entire lower body from a functional standpoint as well. Next one, we're going to get into the upper body, and that is push. And that is going to be some form of vertical push. So where we're pushing upwards, so some kind of like dumbbell shoulder press, machine shoulder press, barbell shoulder press, any kind of vertical pressing movement where you are pressing up the way. And then also a horizontal push, which will just be some kind of chest press, whether that is with dumbbells, a machine, a cable stack, a barbell, whatever it might be. Under push, we're obviously going to be working more chest, shoulders, and triceps, all the pushing muscles, I guess, in a sense. But you do want to be making sure that you're covering both bases here in the sense of a horizontal push, which will be more chest, and then a vertical push, which will be more shoulders. Next movement pattern we're going to get into, and it's going to cover the rest of the upper body, and that is pull. And much like the push movement pattern, we want to be making sure that we're covering this from a horizontal and a vertical basis, okay? So pulling downwards from up above us. So some kind of lat pull down, neutral grip pull down, reverse grip pull down, basically any kind of, or pull up, chin up, that kind of thing. Any kind of movement where we are basically either pulling weight down towards us or pulling ourselves up towards a bar, that kind of thing. And this is going to be working more so of the lats, so basically what gives your back width. We're going to be working more so those muscle groups more than anything else, but you also want to be making sure that you're pairing this with a horizontal pull. So any kind of like typical row exercise where you are pulling a weight towards yourself, might be a barbell row, dumbbell row, cable row, machine row, any kind of row, doesn't matter, take your pick. Want to be making sure that we're getting equal amount of vertical pull and horizontal pull, so we're working the entirety of the back there. So any kind of vertical pull will work more so the lats, any kind of horizontal pull will work. Depending on the type of row, you might get a little bit more lats in there, but more specifically, you'll get more of your rhomboids, your upper traps, and more so if you think directly behind your neck and then down your sort of spine before you get to your lower back, just that kind of general area, and then everything around that, your spine, will be more so a vertical pull there. And the fifth and final movement pattern, this is where the contradiction comes into play, because I don't do any of this shit in my own training, and that is rotate. If we're looking at your abs as an actual muscle group, the main function of them is flexion of the spine, okay? So when you are crunching, that kind of exercise, that is where your abs are working. When we think about working your abs from more of a functional standpoint, so where they're going to come into play when it comes to doing your squatting, your hinging, your pushing, your pulling, when your abs are actually going to be assisting exercises and giving you a strong core, this will build muscle as well. We want to be making sure that your abs are strong enough to be anti-movement in a nutshell. What that basically means is keep you stable, keep you from flopping over, keep you from falling, keeping you from safe from weight and not letting your body just buckle underneath weight. So if we think about a barbell back squat, it's giving your core the strength and ability to keep you upright or preventing you from falling side to side, just keeping you stable and not letting you fold underneath weight. So these kind of movements, it might be some kind of exercise where you're twisting from side to side. Farmer's carries, as much as you are not working, like you're not rotating as such, you are still working very, very hard when it comes to stability. And your obliques and your core are getting a lot of work there. So a farmer's carry walk is probably one of the best ones. Some kind of Russian twist. I would definitely do crunches alongside this. Like if you're wanting to build your abs, crunches are the best way to go about it. So I probably work, even though that's technically not rotating, I would still include that in there. Now, you could throw some additionals in here. Obviously, there's not been a lot of bicep work. There's not been a lot of tricep work. There's not been a lot of calves involved. And you're much like me when you've got shite calves and you're built like Johnny Bravo. You need all the calf exercises and volume that you can get. So as much as these are the 5 movement patterns that you should definitely be focusing on, like, look, when you're doing your pushing, you're still going to get some tricep work. When you're doing your pulling, you will still get some bicep work. It's just, you're not going to be getting full extension of the elbow at times. You shouldn't be anyway. So your triceps won't get fully contracted. When you're doing your pulling, your biceps aren't fully extending and flexing. They shouldn't anyway. So your biceps won't be getting fully worked. So if arms are like a little bit of a lagging body part, I would chuck in some arm exercises throughout there as well, like doing some bicep exercises at the end of after your pulling movements, or tricep exercise after your pushing ones, just so that those muscle groups are getting fully worked alongside those movement patterns as well. Same with calves. They weren't really covered in the squat and the hinging, but chuck them in there as well, and that pretty much covers the entirety of the body. It's also worth noting as well, if you're looking to really level up your physique, you definitely need to be mastering your nutrition. So it's probably worth that you join my email list, and the link for that is in the description. I'm sending out 3 emails a week right now going over how I help my clients master their nutrition and level up their physiques and get strong as fuck. So again, it's free, and the link for that is in the description. But yeah, just to summarize there, the 5 movement patterns are definitely the ones that need to be focused and prioritized. Like, look, ultimately, if you're training 5 times a week, you can split this up in a multitude of different ways. If you're training 4 times a week, upper lower is probably best. And if you're training 3 times a week, full body, where you basically just cover those 5 movement patterns each session, is the most efficient way to go about that. If you're doing upper lower, split it up, and if you're do 1 exercise for each movement pattern and then move on to the next. So what I mean by that is, let's say for example, you're doing a full body session, just do one exercise for each movement pattern. If you're doing an upper body session, do a vertical push, horizontal push, vertical pull, horizontal pull, and then do some fucking arm work if you want to, or whatever. Don't just spend an entire session working one body part, because that kind of training is massively outdated. It's really not needed. And if you're looking to build not just a muscular physique and a lean physique, but an athletic physique or a strong as fuck physique, focusing on movement patterns rather than individual exercises is the most efficient way to do it. But yeah, that is the 5 movement patterns that you need to be focusing on in order to actually build and transform your physique. Hopefully you have learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. If there's anything you would like me to cover in a separate video, leave that below as well, and I'll catch you in the next one.